All right, so quantum information science and technology. Most of you have some sort of familiarity with some aspect of it. Just a reminder, the motivation for all these things is there's anticipated impact for this field. There are tons of applications being pursued as possible use case for it. Everything from sensing submarines to optimizing flight paths, simulating chemicals. All sorts of things are being pursued, and hopefully these will come to market and deliver the anticipated impact. Because of all of these sort of applications and potential uses, quantum information science and technology is a federal priority. You can see this in a lot of the bills passed and the funding. The big one was in 2018. The National Quantum Initiative was passed. There was over $1 billion authorized over 5 years to keep America the leader in this technology, in this field, sort of an all-government approach to it. There's been other legislation passed. The National Defense Authorization Act and the CHIPS and Science Act both had quantum technologies in it. And of course, there's all the typical funding agencies and their programs that have been supporting this technology for years. You can also point out, even in the, we'll call it uncertain times of the federal government now, even the 2025 presidential budget request calls for spending to at least remain where it is, I believe. So it is maintaining bipartisan support and all that. On the private sector, tons of investment. You've probably heard of all these valuations and money going into the field. In the last 2 years, there's been steadily over $2 billion a year in quantum startups. There's a bit of a downturn with the economy, but it's still very optimistic and a lot of investment going into this field. And personally, if you see a lot of government and private sector investment in this, coming in this technologies and that, the writing's kind of on the wall that this is going to happen, I think, and there will be jobs and a need for a quantum-ready workforce. Already, these numbers are, I think, 2 years old or 3 years old or so now. But if you look at just job postings in the quantum tech field, very interdisciplinary, everything from physics to chemistry, math. But one of the things that I like to point out is not all postings require PhDs, which for a new technology is a bit surprising. It's not very mature, but less than half the postings required a PhD experience for those being hired. And a lot of them are what we would call sort of quantum technician level positions, where the highest required degree would be a bachelor's level or below. Data's not perfect. I think IBM doesn't post educational requirements, so sometimes jobs don't require a PhD, but they do. But either way, as the field matures, this is sort of the layout that's expected. As technology matures and it moves from just purely R&D and development focus to sort of a deployment focus, there's going to be a need for more workers to just maintain this equipment and sort of deploy them to different users. But there's going to be opportunities across the educational spectrum. You're still always going to need PhD and beyond and postdoc trained workforce to sort of develop new technologies and new use cases. But we're going to see more and more of these sort of quantum aware technician level positions where you have classically trained scientists and engineers who can operate and maintain these pieces of equipment, and they need a bit of quantum knowledge and expertise. They need to be familiar with it, but they don't need that sort of deep expert level understanding to sort of develop new things. Reflecting on this, the federal government does have a national strategic workforce development plan for quantum. It covers all levels of education to fill all those things, everything from high school outreach and K through 12 sort of awareness, building that and bringing all people into the awareness of the field so they can pursue it, all the way up to those, sorry, it's this side for you, PhD level and postdoc trainings at that level. This project sort of started because we felt there was a gap at that technician bachelor's level area. The Q12 initiative has a lot of good resources for K-12 students and making them aware of this. There's lots of research labs training postdocs and graduate students, but there wasn't a lot of bachelor's level programs or courses when we started this. And one study from, I guess 5 years ago almost now, that kind of highlighted this was a group of researchers looked at over 300 institutions in the US and just scoured their catalogs for courses relating to quantum information science and technology. They found that only about a quarter of those universities had courses in that field, but the one big thing that I like to point out is almost 90% of those institutions were PhD granting institutions. It makes a lot of sense, right? Like, you have these big research fields with the deep expertise. That's where educational programs are going to grow out of. But it is an access issue where there's just a ton of latent infrastructure, universities like the Cal State system that are predominantly undergraduate, where our students aren't getting access to these materials in this field. So partnering with Megan and some folks at Sandia and other people across the CSU. And as an aside, this was presented last week. If you're interested in up-to-date and more current data on the educational landscape of quantum, there's a great database from RIT and Boulder researchers where they've looked at over 8,000 courses with the word quantum in, and this link here, a great app where you can filter by topic, degree level, basically any course in the US that involves quantum, and not just the word quantum. They've also finer tuned it to also look for quantum information science and different things like that. But it's a great way to identify programs exist if you want to use them as a model and possibly reach out to folks involved with those. So as an aside, if you're trying to build education programs and all that, it's always a good idea to look at what's been done. But circling back to this program, the Quantum Information Science and Technology in the CSU, expanding access to quantum information science and technology, is a program that is funded by the Department of Energy Renew program. It involves Sandia, ourselves here at CSUSM, some partners at Chico State and the Chancellor's Office, with the goal of basically bringing this curriculum and these opportunities to students in our undergraduate serving institutions using the CSU as a model. We have student-facing efforts. We have summer research positions at Sandia every summer throughout the grant. And we also have high school to undergraduate bridge programs that we're piloting here and at Chico State. This will be the third summer we do them, as well as student cohort learning communities at both of those campuses. So that gives students sort of immediate opportunities, but more long-term is we have a lot of professional development for faculty to try and create sustained efforts for building into the future. These are these workshops, upskill and bring more people to hopefully go back to your institutions and offer this material, include it in your curriculum, as well as faculty online learning communities. I'll talk more about those at the close of the workshop, but these are a great way to sort of follow up through the academic year and get support for anything you want to take home and implement at home. So I'll talk more about that later. But the whole point of these workshops is sort of threefold. It is the second workshop of the summer, so we're going to go a little more detailed into some of the topics. This one specifically on quantum sensing, the different applications and technologies. We have some nice hands-on demonstrations that tomorrow we'll get some time to play with and look at. They're not free, but they are accessible to most, resource-constrained institutions, depending on your lab budgets and all that. So you could consider building those out and bringing them back. But a very big part of these workshops is building community and network. So I encourage you all talk to each other, share your stories, ideas, build collaborations, whatever. But moving forward, oftentimes at smaller institutions, it can feel a bit isolated. There's not many faculty interested in the same field. Building programs or opportunities by yourself can be pretty daunting. So we want to help address that. Related to that, if you didn't already, if you can sign in, there's sort of two purposes for this. We are recording some of the talks in that, so there's a photo release. We can't guarantee you're not going to be in any of the shots, and if you ask questions, they'll be in the recording as well. So if you can click that. But also, there is an opt-in if you want your contact information shared after the workshop for everyone out. What I'll do is I'll look at all the sign-ins. I'll just create an Excel sheet that'll have the name, the email, and institution that you entered, and I'll share it with everyone. So if you meet someone and want to follow up with them, hopefully you'll have their thing. So if you can fill that out, we'll move forward. Are there any questions? Did I forget anything? I don't think.